my studio. I hope you're good. Today we are going to look at Disney's new film, Disney Descendants. I don't know if you've seen this. It's kind of direct to Disney Plus. I've seen 1, 2, 3 and now 4. It's Disney Descendants Rise of Red, and I've literally just stopped watching it, and I thought it would be perfect for me to do a book cover of it. I loved the contrasting colours and how they like to play with character development from the original fairy tales. And fun fact, my dissertation was actually on Cinderella. I did say I love fairy tales, and there is no stopping of how much I do, especially the original Brothers Grimm ones, but I digress. So here's a little bit about Disney Descendants. I absolutely love the it's not a series, I absolutely love the series. It's a franchise, isn't it? A series is like a TV series. But anyway, I love Descendants. Point 1. Point 2, I like drawing book covers. Point 3, I apparently now like making videos. So that brings us here. I know by now you've probably seen a lot of fan art come up, but I thought it'd be really cool to take you through the process. I'm gonna be designing lots of different covers and seeing what happens. I thought I might take this from a picture book angle as well, as I have done so many more picture books and fiction books as of yet, but we'll see where my career takes me. I absolutely love working on both, so I thought I'd do both, design a picture book style and a fiction book style, and then see which one we like best and which one it suits, really. I mean, as of right now, I'm thinking it suits much more of a fiction book style, but we are, of course, as always, going to do our own twist on it. I'm just really going to focus on the colours and the material. So the fact we've got Cinderella and the Queen of Hearts and Wonderland, and then a school of I would say School of Good and Evil then, but that's on Netflix, so I'm getting completely lost. So we're going to focus on the different schools, and there's a school element in it, so we're just going to chuck everything in, mix it up and see what comes out. Let's do it. Let's get sketching.
So normally I put some music here, but I honestly thought I'd better explain what these little scribbles and boxes are about. So where I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing, whether it be fiction or picture book, I thought I'd design a few basic, really rough sketches just to see what would happen really, and to see what would be the best to then take forward to colour. This is what I do whenever I get a brief to start with, and it's generally the behind the scenes part that no one sees, but obviously because I'm making this video, you guys get to see it. I would always clean them up before I sent them to a client, so they would look more like this, but this is how they start. And as we're not actually sure whether we're doing a fiction book or a picture book, I thought I'd design both and do some really roughs for both and just see what happens. I do absolutely love illustrating fiction. I'm just trying to combine fiction and picture books. But anyway, here's one fiction book that I absolutely love illustrating, and here's a picture book that I have absolutely loved illustrating. I cannot actually pick between the two. I just love working on them side by side because they are quite different. The black and white within fiction and the bright colour. I mean, if it's me, from the picture book. Working on the really roughs through these little squares really gets us to try and nail down the layout and see what's going to work, because where you're obviously really zoomed out, you can see the overall effect that it would give much better. You can also see the ideas that I'm playing with for the picture book here, because where the story is aimed at kind of older children, not really young children, picture book style, I would have to play with the title and just have a bit of an experiment, and laying it out like this allows us to do that. I definitely think that whatever I do, I will heavily rely on the red versus blue. So I did pop the colour palette in here. Also, where we have laid down the fiction and the picture book next to each other, we get to zoom out and put across the overall feel of what it's going to be and what's going to make the most impact, because I really, like I've said, want to focus on the red versus blue. Out of the picture books, I absolutely love this one that I've highlighted in the red, because then I can focus more on the story, that she's angry, and maybe the whole story is about her changing that. As you can tell, I always get carried away with storytelling, so even though I may only ever draw like one image, I have imagined the whole story beginning to end, the whole backstory, the whole world that the character lives in. And I do think this is very important because it allows you to round out the illustration, because you know the whole story. And at the end of the day, as the artist and the illustrator or the author, you are the one that knows all the secrets, all the behind the scenes stuff. So as I've been waffling on, you can tell that I have decided to go down the fiction route for this one, just because this cover gave a clear divide between the red and the blue, so we can create a really contrasting image. And now it's time to get those characters really nailed down, because obviously where it's a really rough sketch, I wouldn't actually know what I was drawing. Well, I would, but maybe you can't actually tell, so we'll get them in. And as I've been designing this one, I've kept the red details on the left and the blue details on the right. So obviously the characters that are the red characters are on the left and the blue characters are on the right. That's basically what I've just said, but you get the idea. In the layout of this illustration, I have planned to put the title of the book in the middle. Around the text are going to be castles, which architecture is quite difficult to draw from like memory. And where this is based on an actual world that exists, it is important we get our references right.
So now we've got our sketch, let's put on a film to get colouring, and I'm definitely going to watch Descendants Rise of the Red again, because it only makes sense, right?
So yes, we have jumped straight in here, as apparently I may or may not have remembered to press record, but that's fine, doesn't matter. Well, let's just carry on. So as I mentioned earlier, I would be focusing on the red and the blue, but I'm actually really only going to use the colours red and blue, with obviously some highlights, just because it's based around this magical watch. And yeah, I'm really going to try and not use any black lines. So this is an experiment for me, as I do kind of have this default fiction style, but I do want to, obviously it's still going to look like that, but kind of push myself a bit and challenge myself. So yeah, the black line is gone, and let's see how it goes. Now we're onto the blue character, and I absolutely love the contrast of these characters. As mentioned in my previous videos, character design is probably my most favourite part of illustration, definitely working out what they're like and who they are. This definitely was a bit of a challenge creating these characters, because they are vastly different, but you also need to make them look like they exist in the same world, because obviously they exist in the same story. So trying to make them look different but the same was very tricky. Now it's on to the castles. These were so fun to draw. I loved looking at all the little touches and making them their own. So making them exist in the world that I want them to exist in. So the Wonderland and the normal world. I actually looked at quite a lot of different castles, even though, yes, okay, we have references from the castles in the story. It is still good to get a good basis because, yeah, I do want to add my own spin on it. I do want to make it my own. And it's also fun looking up fairy tale castles, so I can't complain. It is so important to get the light source right, especially where we're not using black lines anywhere. So we need to use a light and a shadow to give the impression of a line, just to make different parts stand out. This was actually really tricky, but I really enjoyed it, especially adding the details on the crown, and oh my goodness, it's actually so hard to illustrate a crown. I've never actually done it before, especially in this detail, but to try and make it look good took a while, even though it's sped up here for you guys. I definitely have to take a minute to appreciate anybody that draws hair in a fiction style. I absolutely love drawing hair, like really big hair. But for this, it's very tricky because obviously where it's more flat, normally I add in a lot of strands, a lot of wispy bits. But not only have I got hair to work out, there's a plait. I mean, plaits are quite tricky to get right, like because they just look wrong until they look right, if that makes sense. These colours in the background initially were just my colour palette, just so I had the range of lights and darks to ink drop to, because it makes workflow so much easier. Definitely a tip I would always say is have the palette on the screen at all times, just obviously on a different layer. Anyway, these actually turned out being the perfect background, as I love the kind of sunrise vibe it gave, especially where the watch was in the middle and that was going to be the thing that was glowing. That is giving the light source to the whole image. And for the background behind the characters, I'd always imagined the kind of enchanted forest vibe, but obviously where half of it was on the red side and half of it was on the blue side, I really wanted to make them look, again, different but the same. So I kind of, on the heart side, used pointed heart-shaped trees, and on the blue side, make it more of a soft and more of a natural environment. I really am such a big fan of the half and half image because it gives such a good contrast, and especially where in the Descendants 4 kind of books, posters, things about the movie, there is such a distinct red versus blue vibe, and I am so here for it. I am such a a big fan of all the little details that you get in images, and I definitely, when I create my illustrations, love to put in little Easter eggs and nods to things I know. So if I draw like door numbers, it will be the door number of where I grew up or something like that. But anyway, I love the detail on this stopwatch thing. And I really, even though it was going to be quite zoomed out, I really wanted to make sure that if you zoomed in, it was right, because I am a perfectionist and that's just who I am. But I really do think it has really made the image, especially where this is the thing that's emitting the magic, so to speak, and it is the light source of the whole image. So I think it's a very important part. It is definitely the focal point. From the beginning of designing this illustration, I'd always planned to include these playing cards, as you cannot draw Wonderland without playing cards. It's like she's the Queen of Hearts. I use them as a framing device here, so it really does bring the image together and there's not all that empty space at the top. And as I was looking into playing cards, oh my goodness, there are some so lovely, detailed, beautifully illustrated pieces, especially where the backs are concerned. And I would actually love to do this in a video and design my own playing cards, although it's definitely one of those biting off more you can chew things. But anyway, if you'd like to see that, let me know. I'd definitely love to do it. So this is the final part of the illustration and I can't believe everything is actually coming together. Do you know how hard it is to draw playing cards, even little ones, because they still have to look right? But anyway, now I'm going to hop off camera and do the title and do the final reveal after.
I've had so much fun doing this video. I really love when you're watching something and you instantly get an idea and you just have to get it down on paper and you just have to do it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again in the next video.